The mess of our lives, Brian, is a gift if we can see it, because on the other side of the mess is hope.
Years ago, I grew up with depression, led me down a road of drinking alcohol and taking pills, doing drugs. And I got to a point where it just spiraled out of control on me. And it was either something had to be done at that moment or I was going to be dead pretty soon. At that point, I was reaching out to a few friends of mine to kind of see what I could do, what help I could get. And some of them recommended me go to a methadone clinic. So that's what I did.
Yeah,
I
you were
started going.
seeking help. You're just like, let's try this.
Yeah. And they did help me quit drinking and get off the pills and drugs, but I got addicted to them. They're just as addictive as anything else. I started taking them every day, and I would take one starting out, then I would take two. Then before you know it, I was taking 6 or 7 or 8 of them where I could get high and where I'd feel like I felt normal. And so I knew something had to be done. I was at the end of my rope. I felt like, I was ashamed of what I've become. I felt like I was so far gone that I was beyond God's forgiveness. So I just happened one day to get on YouTube, and I was just looking through YouTube, and I found a video that you had done with Darren, We're Messengers.
Yeah, what were we talking about in the video? We've talked with him a couple times.
That God will come to you in your deepest, darkest, worst place you're in, that God will still, reach out to you. And that, and he also said that what he had went through with alcoholism and other stuff, he said that God used that. It was a gift from God. And so that changed my whole way of thinking about everything.
Had you never heard anybody who had a relationship with God talk about addiction and stuff like that?
No, I haven't. And that, just hearing him say that, I didn't feel like a failure anymore. I feel like maybe God was working in my life the entire time. I just didn't know it,
That's amazing. It feels like no accident that you stumbled across it when you needed it, Like, what even made you click on it? Do you remember? Had you ever heard of Darren before?
At that time, no, I haven't. So I don't know. I feel like God put it in my life. He knew exactly what I needed, exactly when I needed it. And it couldn't have come at a better time. I know that, because I probably wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for that one video. It's amazing how one video can change your entire life. One interview.
That is so crazy. And I know we didn't know what God was going to do in the moment. Darren clearly didn't know. So tell me what happened. Take me back to that moment. You watched this interview. You're dealing with all of this shame. What changed in your mind and what happened next?
Well, when I watched it and I heard him talking about God coming to him in his darkest hour and all that, I broke down inside. I dropped to my knees right then and I surrendered my life to God. And from that moment on, my life has changed forever. I'm a completely different person today. I'm thankful that I did go through it, because it made me a stronger person. And I believe I'm closer to God because of it.
And that's something that, like, Darren has always talked about too, is that, like, God didn't forget about him in those moments and years of addiction. It's like you wouldn't know the goodness of God and what the freedom is really like if you hadn't known bondage and distance from God. And so it somehow makes it sweeter. But take me back to that moment. Like, I'm completely there with you emotionally, because I can see you and picture you in that moment surrendering to God, but you're still addicted. Like, what happened next?
That's when I decided to lay them down. When I surrendered my life to God, I actually threw them away. I saved a few of them. I put them in the cabinet. And about every other day, I was going through depression, the worst depression of my life. Probably, even though I surrendered my life to God, everything wasn't perfect. Like, I've always been taught, when you give your life to God, that everything will be great. You're supposed to be a perfect person the second you surrender your life to God, but it was far from that. I had every day I was fighting with it. I was going through the fight of my life. There was several days where I saved a few of them. I'd go to the cabinet and I'd grab them in my hand and I would start praying. And I'd think about it and I'd put that video back on, and just watching that video gave me the strength, and I never did take them. So.
Oh, praise God. I mean, that that is a miracle in and of itself. Like, we both know that's not how getting off of pills and addiction normally works. But the fact that you detoxed and you prayed and you asked God, do you feel like he's the one who gave you the strength to get through that? Because I can't even imagine the fight you were in.
Definitely. Without God, I wouldn't have made it. There's no way.
That's incredible.
God is so good.
Yes, Brian. I just am so grateful that you would share something that is so personal and that is so painful with us. But so tell me what happened next in your story. Like, you are wrestling with, I feel like I need to be this perfect Christian. Where has that taken you now in your relationship with God?
Well, I've come a long ways since then. I've actually started going to a local church here near my house, and I've actually become the worship coordinator at the church.
That's amazing.
I'm actually taking classes in counseling right now, so I can maybe help other people in the same condition that I was in. And I'm working on getting a degree in leadership and ministry also.
That is incredible, Brian. We get to see Darren. We've done several interviews with him. He comes in often, and I totally want to tell him about this. So I was just curious, like, what would you want us to tell him?
Just maybe thank you, because if he hadn't done the interview with y'all, that I don't know where I'd be. And that sounds silly, probably, that one interview done can change somebody's life, but I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, Brian. Well, we actually have a little bit of a surprise for you because Darren had a second to join us in the video. And so he just popped in. And Darren, I wanted you to meet Brian. Brian, this is Darren.
Come on, Brian. Brian, listen to me, mate. It is so lovely to see you. And Joy, it's lovely to see you too.
Yeah.
I take very little credit for anything that God has done in your life other than being able to have an honest conversation with my friend Joy. I just said that last night to someone, actually. Brian, a friend of mine is going through a really, really tough time at the moment. And I said that same thing to him, and I didn't realize I'd said it in the interview, but that the mess of our lives, Brian, is a gift if we can see it. Because on the other side of the mess is hope. And you found that, Brian. And I sing in a Christian band, and I think the tendency is for us to appear like we're holy or we got it all together. And I'm a messy man, just like you be. Really just like you. But you've cast all of your hope on Jesus. You've thrown yourself at his feet. And he's not like the people in your life who've let you down. He's going to pick you up and he's going to hold on to you for the rest of your life. Don't let go of him. And pray for me, because in the dark of the night, when I want to run away from Jesus too, pray that I'll keep holding on to him. But I'm so proud of you. I mean that. So you might be here to thank Joy and maybe even thank me, but I'm here to thank you for reminding me what we do matters and to keep me pushing on. So thanks, Brent.
Thank you. Keep up the great work. You're doing amazing things.
Darren, I don't know if you know this, but Brian was just telling me that now that he's out of addiction, is taking courses and trying to understand counseling so that he can help people who are in depression and addiction. So God is like redeeming his story like crazy.
Wow. Brian, that's phenomenal. And I think that's what you can do. If Jesus has set you free, then you don't just have a desire to do that for other people, but in a way you have an obligation. Mm-hmm. And your obligation is to love people the way you've been loved by him. And that's how we see people truly set free from addiction. Mm-hmm. You're going to do great things, Brian. So here's where the gift lands again, Brian. You know what your sin feels like, smells like, and tastes like. And you know what restoration looks like, what hope feels like. So you understand. So you can sit with anyone who's wrestled with addiction or loss or grief or any matter of substance abuses. And you can say, I understand. That is the gift. Mm-hmm. And I know you won't waste it, bro. I know you won't.
I'm going to use it. I feel God tugging at my heart every day, pulling me in that direction. So
Yeah. It's so incredible to get a chance to like just be together with both of you, because I think this is something that God brought into this moment to happen, and God put it on Brian's heart to share that with us. We've been so blessed, Brian. Darren's been so blessed, and I just know that he's using you already, and we're grateful we get to be a part of your story, man.
thank you so much. I really appreciate the time, letting me share my story with you.